Philip Stoughton. I'm on the Global Electronics Association booth at Productronica 2025, and I'm joined by Alison James, who takes care of advocacy here in Europe. A big job pulling everything together. We're constantly bombarded with news of different things going on in Brussels. What's the latest things that are vexing you and keeping you busy, and what are your members asking you to be watchful for?
Okay. Well, Phil, I think we spoke probably a few months ago, and something that is the most topical right now is that the European Commission is revising the European Chips Act. Mm-hmm. So that's a very timely process. I would like to say to everybody, there's a consultation taking place until the end of November. We are really encouraging companies in Europe to put in consultation responses to the European Chips Act. So there's another week to do that.
And they can just reach out to you?
They can reach out to me. It's available. Exactly. But it is open, and I want to say that the European Commission is looking for responses from the printed circuit board community and EMS companies.
Okay.
And that is a result of many conversations and many meetings that we've had with the Commission over recent years. So I would say what's topical at the moment is the European Chips Act. That is really, really critical. But it's also linked to all of the discussions we've been having on European defence and other critical industries. Because what's becoming apparent, and we have been saying for a number of years, is that we really need an industrial strategy approach for electronics, which means that our European critical industries like defence, critical infrastructure, mobility, everything that's needed for digital, green transition and security, that they have what they need in the region, that we're bringing the industry along and lifting the boats, that we can make final systems in the region. So it's interconnected. It's interconnected.
Yeah, and it's bringing all those parties together. That's one of the things that Global Electronics Association does an exceptional job, and we talked about it a lot at the recent leadership summit in Paris. The area that seems to be one of the most challenging is constantly the printed circuit board industry. There's a lot of requests, if not demands, for some kind of quotas or some intervention from government. Do you see that as a possibility, and are government sufficiently aware of that and listening to that story?
Yeah. So, and again, it's a multi-layered issue and a multi-layered question, Phil. But that's something that we've been talking about, and raising for the last number of years. It's extremely relevant for the European Chips Act. Yeah. So we are saying that printed circuit boards, but also printed circuit board assembly, should be part of the Chips Act. Yeah. Because you need to be able to deploy chips in final systems. Yeah. So for that, printed circuit board and the assembly is absolutely crucial. We need to have that. The European Chips Act is really a supply-side instrument. Yeah. We're saying that we also need a demand signal for the industry. Yeah. So that's incentivizing OEMs, sourcing of trusted electronics made in Europe. That also fits into that. Now, are they listening? So at European Commission level, again, we're very grateful that the European Commission, that's DG Connect, that is responsible for the consultation process on the CHIPS Act, has been very responsive. They did ask us to organize a workshop as Global Electronics Association, specifically for printed circuit board and EMS companies, and we did that just over a week ago. So they've heard many of the voices of the industry. We're putting in a consultation response. Yeah. So the European Commission has been responsive to listening to the printed circuit board and printed circuit board assembly industry, knowing that it's really critical for critical industries. Yeah. In addition to that, I have to say, because your question was about governments, the CHIPS Act consultation is still open, but it's really critically important that at national level, that member state governments at national level recognize the importance of printed circuit boards and printed circuit board assemblies, because that's Europe. It's Brussels, it's the member states, it's the European Parliament. Yeah. So there's still work ahead, I think, and this is really a key moment.
And is that the route to influence the OEMs? Is the only way the OEMs, or those that are buying the printed circuit boards or the electronic manufacturing services, are they only going to respond to legislation, or do we have anything else in our toolbox that can be used to influence them? Because it feels like they have long-term orders from defense contractors. They have visibility for some substantial amount of time, and that hasn't trickled down to their providers.
So has it not trickled down to their providers yet?
My sense The ones that are complaining to me are saying not, but maybe in some cases it has. I know some are very positive about what they're seeing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know conversations are taking place with some of the OEMs and their supply chains, and obviously that needs to happen more, right? So some of it is in the hands. It's a business issue that companies need to decide how they're working with their supply chains. But the other side is, indeed, we're now entering a time in the European Union which has been such an open to trade region, and still is. It's still very open to trade. But we're starting to look, the region is starting to look at areas like public procurement and talking about possibly a European preference for public procurement for strategic sectors for European companies. So you can see that in legislation that's beginning to surface and starting to come in because of the geopolitical reality. You know, and we've been saying, however you do it, we need to make sure that we have critical capacity levels across the ecosystem in Europe, and we have to be looking across that ecosystem. So whether that's through incentivizing, I believe they also need to be incentivized because there's a competitive issue across the ecosystem. So we have to lift the boats for the whole ecosystem. So that there's a market there and continues to be a market there. But that's an ongoing conversation. But I mean, I would hope that it's also beginning to trickle down.
Yeah, you'd hope it would work its way down. Maybe it's slower than it. Maybe it's happening slowly, and it's impatience that's part of the challenge. I think what's interesting though, because you're able to think globally, but you're acting in a very local way, you're also able to lean on your partners in Washington and other parts of the world, and actually understand what's happening and how those processes are working in different places. That must be valuable to you, much as the EU is a very different beast to Washington. There are still initiatives and there are still issues that you have in common.
That there are issues that we have in common, particularly with the US when it comes to the need to support the printed circuit board community and also the need to have a resilient base for defense. So those kinds of issues. We also look, I have to say, from a European perspective, looking across the global landscape that, would love to have some of the incentives that they have for the rest of the manufacturing industry in Europe. So we can look to other regions and say, there are tax incentives for manufacturing in the US, which we don't have currently. We would like to have them. Much more of a strategy in Asia for the entire ecosystem. That is what we need in Europe. That
what instruments do they have? What works?
Yes. So it's very good. And also as the association, our main issue is really about supply chain resiliency. So we do have a sense, obviously, of where the bottlenecks are, and I think that we can bring that, and we do bring that to the discussion, because at the end of the day, for us, it's about making sure that in the region, the critical industries, the OEMs, also have the supply chain and the access to the supply chain that they need to make next generation electronics, because it all needs to move. It's a world where we're innovating, and electronics are central to everything. Semiconductors are central to everything, but the ecosystem.
But it's the ecosystem
without the
that holds it all together.
You do not have a final system.
No, you can't take any of those areas in isolation. Well, the Brussels contacting you and asking you to get consultation from subcommittee of PCB and EMS is testament to your work and testament to the fact that they're listening. So keep doing that, keep doing what you're doing, keep telling us what you're doing, and keep us updated, and we'll make sure we get that message out there. But thanks so much for your time.
We'll keep going. Thank you very much.
Thank you.